Lasts for a total.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
This reminds me of the arcade game.
I know, right? I'm thinking like, what if they just add like the little instant jump, all that boost that just gets them going since they have to run on energy the whole time. I
don't know.
That's fine.
I definitely I said I could get in the F1 car, but I don't think I can get into a Formula E car.
Yeah.
With that, oh no, just a
don't hit the
random burst
button.
of energy.
I mean, you're already going fast, so if you hit it, you'll feel a jump, but it's gonna pick up on you. It's not gonna be like instant, like going into the future type stuff.
That's how I'ma feel. I gotta went to another dimension.
What's good, y'all? It's the Demouchets React, and we're back with another video. Who we got today, C?
Today we're back with another reaction. Super excited about this video. If you're new to us
and we're new to you,
make sure you scroll down,
hit that subscribe button,
and turn on the post notification bell
because we're on the road to 50K.
And we cannot get there without you guys, alright? Join the family. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
Let's get it.
Mad, and the drivers are super aggressive. In just one race this year, there was over 190 overtakes. There's huge lunges, loads of wheel banging, and lap-long battles. But what is it about Formula E that makes it possible to overtake so much? And why are the drivers so aggressive? Formula E is now on its third generation of car. They have about 470 brake horsepower, and that's about half of F1. But they have significantly...
So Formula E is slower than F1, but the model of it looks a whole lot more fancier. It does look a lot better, but why would they make it slower?
I'm not sure.
Why would they do that, you guys?
I'm trying to imagine a race.
Oh yeah, I feel you.
Race.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Less downforce and drag than an F1 car, so they can still get up to about 200 miles an hour. And for a car that runs on treaded tyres, that's a lot. They race exclusively on street circuits too, meaning they are extra challenging for the drivers. I mean, just look at this onboard. There are changes in surface, there's very little runoff, and the driver is hacking away at the steering wheel. He's really driving that car. And this is one of the reasons that there's so much overtaking and why the driving in Formula E is aggressive. The circuits are difficult. They're raw and they create more opportunities for mistakes from the drivers. And I'm well on board for making things more difficult for drivers. Formula E circuit layouts are also pretty unusual compared to normal circuits. And that's because they're all properly temporary street circuits that run within the host cities. That means that the bumps, the white lines and the cambers are all left in the track, something that most race circuits just don't have. And that is a big challenge for the drivers. They don't just need to learn where the circuit goes, but where all the cambers and bumps are to help them find the perfect racing line. And they need to understand this offline too, for when they're running alongside another car. In fact, that's something that caught out Mitch Evans in one of the races this year in Rome. Just look at this footage. Mitch is the driver in third position, is offline and may not have been on that specific part of the track much that weekend. He hits a bump, locks up the rear tyres and takes himself out and one of his championship rivals. Wow. To add to the challenge, there's also very little runoff areas on Formula E street circuits. Again, it means that there's more risk of making a race-ending mistake, which really changes the mentality of a driver. For example, when there's plenty of runoff, a driver is more willing to push too hard too soon because they know there's little downside if they do run wide. But if there's a chance of costing themselves too much time or taking themselves out, they build up to that limit more steadily. And that is a good thing. The better drivers can...
Now we know that the halo was made in F1s to protect them from getting, injured badly, but I feel like Formula E don't have as many mess-ups as Formula 1 do. Like when Formula 1 hit a front wheel, they flipping. They're real sensitive when it comes to any crashes or things of that nature. But I've seen a few cars get bumped and they just kept going. And he did mention they are a lot more aggressive too.
Right, but it seems like the cars will be a little bit lighter.
These cars?
Like in weight, yeah.
Yeah, you think so?
So that makes me think that they were getting more.
I mean, let's see y'all put the stats up. Let's hear it because I'm going with Formula 1. I think they do have a lot more accidents than Formula E. Okay. Even though Formula E is a lot more aggressive, I feel like they could take a blow or two.
All right. Well, let me know.
Let us know. I want to know the stats of this.
Because I don't know. This is my first time watching anything about Formula E.
Heard that. I'm here.
Dion be knowing what you're talking about. I don't know.
I'm
build up to the limit more quickly, meaning their skill is more rewarded, as it should be. Now, one thing that's really interesting about Formula E is that there's no car-to-pit data. In F1, cars have around 300 sensors and produce 1.1 million data points per second. On a side note, with 20 cars running per weekend, that's about 160 terabytes of data, or 250,000 hours of YouTube video. And as impressive as that is, all that data plus brilliant engineers means that there's quite a lot F1 teams can predict. Whether that's race strategy, tyre wear, or fuel usage, it means one thing: more predictable races, where fewer things surprise the teams and drivers. And that isn't great for us watching on a Sunday afternoon. However, this is banned in Formula E, meaning that the drivers are more involved in judging the strategy mostly by themselves. One of the most surprising things here is that the drivers and teams don't know how much energy they have left in their batteries until they see it on TV. Yep, the engineers watch the TV monitors to understand how much energy their cars and their competitors' cars are using. Now, I quite like the fact that there's not a massive amount of data around. There's much more unpredictability, and it really spices up the racing. Of course, the teams and engineers simulate how much energy they expect to be used throughout the race and how to use the energy before the race. But actually, when the race comes around, things always change. For example, engineers and drivers just don't know how the race is going to pan out. And when driving in traffic, drivers can actually save a load of energy, which they could then deploy much later in the race. I
think that is actually better, that it relies mostly on them instead of the team. You know, because them as the driver, you're the one driving. You know, so I feel like just as in any sport, like let's say with football, you know, the coach can tell you to play and all that, but you're the one on the field.
Yeah, you're gonna finesse it. You're gonna get it right.
So I think that's cool.
No, 100%. I agree with that. I mean, if you're gonna do anything, and you're like, if you're the core product and you're making sure everything goes as it's plans to go, you need to know, like, you can just do it yourself, basically. Yeah.
To the Berlin race, I found this super interesting. Firstly, this was a quick circuit and saving energy was a big part of the strategy. So what ended up happening was more like a bicycle race. The drivers formed a peloton and no one wanted to lead for the first 75% of the race, as they'd be using more energy. This created a crazy dynamic where being in 4th to about 8th position was the sweet spot, trying to save energy before sprinting at the end of the race. Again, just like a bike race. What's great here is that the drivers are all on different energy levels towards the end of the race, meaning they essentially have different levels of power, which mixes everything up at the end of the race. Having different drivers on different strategies means that when a faster car needs to overtake, they do it quickly before moving on to the next car, meaning big, aggressive overtakes. And there's more. Aside from the difference in how drivers use energy, Formula E also has attack mode. While swapping cars mid-race was a bit painful and fan boost was a bit gimmicky, both of which have now been dropped, I think attack mode adds something good to the races. Kind of simulates the offset that you might get with a pit stop, which Formula E now doesn't have. Basically, attack mode boosts the motor's power by about 70 horsepower. Drivers have to use this twice throughout the race, and it lasts for a total.
I was just thinking that.
This reminds me of the arcade game.
I know, right? I'm thinking, like, what if they just add like that little instant jump, all that boost that just gets them going, since they have to run on energy the whole time. I don't
know.
That's fine.
I definitely I said I could get in the F1 car, but I don't think I can get into a Formula E car.
Yeah.
With that, oh no, just a
don't
random burst of energy.
I mean, you're already going fast, so if you hit it, you'll feel a jump, but it's gonna pick up on you. It's not gonna be like instant, like going into the future type stuff.
That's how I'ma feel. I gotta went to another dimension.
That's clean though. That's
4 minutes. However, they have to go off the racing line to activate it, meaning a loss of about 1.5 to 2 seconds, which usually puts them behind other cars. As the racing in Formula E is close and often the cars are in a train, this can cause some issues for the drivers. You'll often see drivers peel away from the pack to take the attack mode, only to come back in the pack with a ton of work to do to regain their positions. Attack mode does create racing, and it forces drivers to be aggressive with their overtakes, as they need to get them done to regain their position. As a driver, it'd be pretty frustrating, and you may or may not get lucky with how the traffic falls for you. But as a spectator, I think it's an interesting aspect. Now, on to my favourite part. There's no doubt that racing in Formula E is more robust. than F1. It's kind of like the British touring cars of single-seaters. And there's a number of reasons for that. Formula E car doesn't produce a huge amount of downforce compared to F1. And that's a good thing for racing. First of all, you can follow more closely. Also, when you knock bits off, the grip is affected much less. That's why stock car racing, GT racing, and touring car racing is often a lot closer than single-seaters. And you can really see that the cars are less affected by downforce in the racing. When I went to the race in Rome, Norman Natter made a bit of a lunge from P2 and tagged his front wing on Jake Dennis. Pretty normal incident that we'd see in any motorsport. This was on lap 6 and he broke the front wing, but he still managed to drive the car to finish in the same position, showing that the front wing doesn't make a huge difference to performance, which in turn means that drivers care less about a bit of contact. So the bigger factor that allows drivers to absolutely send it are the longer braking zones. I've been lucky enough to drive it in loads of different championships over the years. The ones that have the best and therefore most overtaking are the cars that have a longer braking zone. Whether that's the Fun Cup, Mazda MX-5 or classic sports cars, you can absolutely send them on the brakes, which is of course great fun if you're the one doing the overtaking. Now of course Formula E cars aren't slow. The time on the brakes is much longer than F1 or F2, meaning there's way more opportunity to have a successful lunge. And by narrow bumpy circuits that are easy to make a mistake on, all the drivers on different energy levels and race strategy, attack modes, longer braking zones, damaging an end plate not being the end of the world, and that's why Formula E drivers are more aggressive, because the situation allows them to be. And racing drivers will always push the limits as hard as they can go. For some reason, no one wanted to lead the Berlin race that I went to, and it made for a fascinating race strategy. If you want to understand why no one wanted to lead this race, watch this video here. Thank you very
A lot of questions, man. A lot of questions. First of all, as you can see, it does sound a lot safer. It sound like they did do a lot of more precaution with Formula E. They can do a little bit. They can get a little bit more aggressive. They can go a little faster, but it takes time for them to build up on that attack mode, which is odd to me because why you can't just hit it and go?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? You got to wind down and then pick up speed.
Maybe that's just a rule.
You know what I'm saying? So
maybe just a rule.
Could be. It's a few things that I'm interested in and want to know more about though.
Yeah. So let's watch some Formula E. Let us know your thoughts. Any video you want us to watch, let us know. We hope you guys enjoyed this video with us. Like this video, subscribe, turn on the post notification bell. We have enabled our super thanks if you like to support the channel that way, as well as our reaction request form is in our description box below. We'll see you soon.
Peace.